candidate at top colleges and in coveted industries. Each year, SEO serves 5,000 plus high school students, college students, and young professionals nationwide through a variety of their high impact programs. And they also see the success of William's tenure, which has led to a 900% growth in young people served each year. And their annual revenues has been increased by over $35 million. I think we have provided additional information about Mr. Goodloe that I would encourage everyone to definitely go back and read. But in the meantime, we want to get right into our program by speaking to the man himself. So welcome, Mr. Goodloe. Thank you so much again for being with us, taking out time of your busy schedule.
Thank you, Stacy. It's a pleasure to be here. Always, I have some fond memories of my time at AU and Kogod, so always happy to participate.
Great. Since you mentioned your time at Kogod, maybe we get started by tell us a little bit about your experience. A lot has happened since you've been here, but tell us, how was Kogod during your day?
So actually, during my time, I'm a 1981 graduate. The name was actually changed to Kogod College of Business Administration. I guess he made the donation during those years. It was previously the School of Business Administration, and then it became Kogod, I think my junior year maybe or so. So I majored in urban development and real estate, which is unfortunately no longer a major. And it actually led to me becoming a real estate investor as well after some of the real estate related courses and real estate investment courses.
That's great to hear. So you walked away with education and skill set to go out into the marketplace and become successful. That's great to hear. And we thank you for representing Kogod so well in doing so. When you were a student here, of course, here in DC, you had access to faculty and professionals. And I know with your organization, that is a critical component. But where in this quest did you decide that you needed to provide additional services to help students transition to get into that path?
So it was actually after I graduated, and this directly relates to one of SEO's programs. We have 4 major programs. 3 of them are in the bucket of professional services, where we help companies, we partner with companies, banks in particular, financial services companies, law firms, and fortune companies, and helping them find entry-level talent. And we do it through internships that lead to full-time jobs for people who do well in the internship between their junior and senior year. And and one of the areas, although they may have the academic ability, they may not know, the students we work with, how to navigate the corporate environments. And for me, that was a challenge. I mean, I literally was fired, I can say this decades later, from my first 3 jobs. And when I say fired, they didn't call me in and do a Donald Trump, you're fired. But you get downsized, you get the roles eliminated, or your job is to find a new job, and you don't realize till years later that actually I wasn't producing, and it was because, or they felt I was expendable because I didn't understand corporate America. And eventually, I got it. I had a successful career in advertising and sales. Those roles never showed up on my resume, of course. Luckily, there was no LinkedIn back then, or you couldn't search as easily for folks. So that's one of the things we focus on is navigating the corporate environment for people who may not have parents or a network that's familiar with those environments.
That is incredible. Yeah, so in your position, you help so many young people. What do you believe are some of the biggest challenges students in your programs face today?
There are multiple challenges, and I'm going to focus. So I mentioned the navigating corporate environments. We have another program, which is the flagship program of SEO, called the Scholars Program. And in that program, It's in New York, and we have a San Francisco operation, and it serves high school and college students, 2,000 from New York City public schools alone. And so we focus on students from low-income families who would be the first in their families to graduate from college. And students from any ethnic background, but we know that a college degree is the most reliable way to break the cycle of poverty, especially intergenerational poverty. And their intense academic classes while they're attending their high schools at SEO on Saturdays, summers, weekends, 700 hours of SEO classes that academically prepare students for college level work. Nevertheless, once they are in college, so that's number one, is helping students overcome being undereducated. And the public school system is you know, I don't know how to be kind about it, but is poor. And to help us understand where we meet students, we give them a diagnostic test when they're accepted into SEO in the 9th grade. The average GPA of the students in their high schools is about a 90. So let's say a A-. The average score on the diagnostic, and this is based on what they should know by the end of 8th grade. If they're attending a relatively rigorous elementary, middle school, K-8 education, whether it's a really good public school system, private school, independent school, parochial school, that's what the test is based on. The average score on that diagnostic test is about a 60, and we've been giving it for about 13 years now. So 58 to 62, let's say, is a pretty tight band. So that A- is literally a failing grade based on what they actually know. And so and we share these scores with the students. So closing that academic gap, and we don't call it an achievement gap, but an opportunity gap, because they're not being challenged academically. So that's what the SEO classes in critical reading, critical writing, vocabulary, grammar, and math, those 700 hours on Saturdays, weekends, and summers focus on. So by 12th grade, they've eliminated that gap as measured by SAT scores. So they're truly college ready from an academic standpoint. Most of about 80% of the students in remedial courses in college had an 80 average or higher in high school. So the public schools are really failing them. So that's number one, is overcoming being undereducated. And then there's a psychological component, a sense of belonging. Some people call it the imposter syndrome, and helping students understand they actually belong in these environments. In many cases, they work much harder to get there than their peers. And we have a variety of ways of doing that. And then finally, I'll add understanding the link between college and career. Far too many young people from low-income communities, low-income families are underemployed upon college graduation. And they don't have the networks. They may not be aware of internships, of all of the opportunities available to them upon college graduation. So you may have two kids, one from a more wealthy parents who are college graduates, same GPA as a kid from a low-income community. More than likely, the more well-off student is going to have a better job. So closing that employment gap upon college graduation and helping students understand the things they can do while they're in college to position themselves for a better professional opportunity.
That is actually incredible when you talk about the disparity there. And which kind of leads into what we'll probably classify as marginalized communities. It's been defined that those are excluded from mainstream social, economic, educational, and or cultural life. And it sounds like that is a description of what you're describing, those communities, especially as it relates to the educational component. And given that your organization is serving those communities, could you tell us or give us some additional examples, perhaps, of how assistance could be provided like you're one organization, but maybe there are things that we can do individually as well as collectively to help this population. Do you have any insight on that?
Yes, so we have right now, we have about 1,100 students in college right now, and almost 200 different colleges, from freshmen to, I have some fifth-year students, in fact, but the graduation rate is 90% for SEO students in college. This is versus low-income students who begin college, the national graduation rate is 20%. So we've distinguished ourselves in that way, and we do it, besides working directly with students, we try to direct them to colleges where there will be supportive environments. And now the beauty is you can go online and you can see some of the great things that colleges are doing. But in particular, having staff members who are dedicated to making sure first-generation college students feel they are not just a part of the campus, but an integral part of the campus, and celebrating first-generation students. There are schools like UT Austin, for instance, has a first-gen day, and they've increased their first-gen graduation rates by over 20%. It celebrates those students, shows the value they add to the campus, helps meet them where they are, and most importantly, helps first-gen students who in many cases, they've been a lone, an individual performer, and they've had to just find their way individually, and they're reluctant to ask for help many times. But with one thing that we stress to our students is when you get to campus, join study groups, start a study group, go see professors during office hours. Actually, it's the top students who do these things. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's the stronger students who actually ask for help. And it could be tutoring, career services, study abroad programs. So all of those things are helping first-gen students become aware of them and access the resources that college campuses like American University have to offer.
Oh, that's excellent. You actually covered my next question, which was about the need to support minority students who are first generations. We have non-traditional students. We have other potentially marginalized populations that need assistance, which then I ask, from your expertise, what can those of us working in higher education do on a macro level to address, support, and find solutions to solve some of these challenges? So
many of the things I just said, and really just validating for students that they've earned their place there. In fact, they've done more in many cases. For instance, SEO students, they've attended class from 8:45 to 4:30 virtually every Saturday during the school year. How many of their peers were getting up and living in, let's say, in the New York borough of the Bronx and have to come to class in Manhattan on a Saturday? Things that they may view as disadvantages, helping them understand they're actually advantages, that the grit, the determination that they showed, attending less rigorous schools, having lower expectations, the resisting of the distractions. I mean, I grew up in the housing projects myself in Brooklyn, and there are a lot of distractions to this day in those types of neighborhoods that students have to overcome in order to achieve. So validating that they're there, they're an integral part of the campus, and really also encouraging students. I know some of the first-gen activities, too often students first-gen students are alone on a campus or marginalized students, and they feel I'm the only one, not knowing that there are others who are also first-gen, marginalized. So having a way of bringing those students together as they're part of the larger campus community as well, so they can lean on one another for support, and knowing that they're not alone in this journey, and sharing resources together could be another thing that more colleges can do.
That's great. We will definitely take note of that. I want to go ahead. I saw a couple of comments in the chat. So Elizabeth, if you'll help us out with that, could be on topic.
Definitely. So we have one question that reads, when in your career or your life did you decide that you had enough financially or in your achievements to move on to helping others? Did you know that your true life's achievements would be helping others?
I did not. And I'll try to tell this story as short as I can. But this is the beauty of college. Again, is is that you make lifelong friendships and have lifelong relationships. I had a great time at AU. I went to graduate school. I did an executive program. I just came to campus for class. So AU is my real college experience. And a friend of mine from AU went on to become a lawyer. And then he decided law wasn't his thing. So he started a nonprofit with another guy we knew from American University in DC. And they eventually, it was to help kids in foster care, preparing foster care kids for independent living upon discharge from care. They eventually were able to expand to New York. So he starts coming to New York and we're hanging out, I'm in sales. And one day he says to me, you could help us raise money to support the government contract we have. I said, I don't know anything about fundraising. What are you talking about? He said, no, development fundraising. What I was is similar to sales. And in the sales I was in, was Corning at the time. You work out of home. So I'm used to this virtual thing, believe me. You work out of your home, they give you a company car, expense account, and you've got to sell, get to go see your customers, your clients, and produce. But you work hard, but you set your own schedule. So I had the ability to become a consultant to him because I wasn't getting that much, satisfaction, personal wise or civically from selling and Corning. For those of you old enough, you remember Corning ware, Pyrex, pots, pans, dishes, Corel. So it's not a whole lot of personal satisfaction from selling more of that to department stores and buyers and mass merchants. So I started fundraising on the side as a consultant, and eventually we were able to, I worked on a proposal with him to triple the size of the New York State contract, and I was able to leave my job at Corning and become vice president of Center for Youth Development and run the sort of New York operation. So it was really accidental, but it was a win-win because I had the skills, I knew him, and a win for me, but also a win for the organization. And that's how I got into the nonprofit sector. I will say this, that it's not like you're taking a vow of poverty when you work in the nonprofit sector. Either. We have to be competitive in terms of the salaries we pay. All the nonprofit means is there is no personal ownership of the organization. I can't pass it down to my kids. When I leave, I leave with my last salary and anything I put in the retirement plan. So it's not necessarily taking a vow of poverty, but I do have to say, it's much more satisfying. I feel I'm really having an impact with the team that we have at SEO on the lives of many, many young people. And it's immeasurable because we know, especially with the program that focuses on helping young people break the cycle of poverty with a college degree, we know that that's a permanent impact, and their generations will benefit from the impact that we have at SEO. So that was the moment. It was kind of unintentional. So we also tell kids, take full advantage of the campus. Yes, you join affinity groups. I was a member of, we called it OSATO at the time, the Black Student Union. I'm not going to try to remember what OSATO stands for, but also some of the campus-wide groups, because those are some valuable years, and you never know who you'll run into later. In fact, another graduate of AU, 30 years later, we reconnected because he's in the world I'm in, Derek Jones of the Kogod College, and we both were on the advisory board, or are on the advisory board at Kogod. So small world, and it gets smaller and smaller.
Thank you. We have one more. It says, I'm married. he has children, and he is a graduate of accounting at one of the universities, Gombe State University in Nigeria. He's a certified accountant and an associate member. He has children, and right now, I mean, he's in the process of transitioning because he doesn't have a lot of money, but he's very much interested in what you do. Where does he begin? How does he start?
I think that's a tougher question. I mean, so often there is, maybe it depends on what the current job is, and what and it's sort of these concentric circles where you look for, as my friend, as I mentioned, saw it before I did, the transferable skills. So whether it's accounting, what skills does an accountant have, or your past experience may be transferable to another career, if that's not the career you want to pursue. There are even online aptitude tests that can judge, what types of things might you be good at and also enjoy doing. So I do the research. Where else have accountants ended up, and start networking within the profession, and the profession that you ultimately want to transition to learn more about it, and asking people about their own journey. People's favorite topics, they taught me this in sales, and it's so true, are to talk about themselves. So, asking people in a genuinely interested way about their journey, what they've done, how they went about it. Do you think that's realistic for me? Are there other people I should be talking to in order to make this transition that I'm desiring to make? All of those things that are helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next question is, do you feel that higher education continues to have the same kind of ROI, return on investment, as it did when you were in school? Is it worth it?
I think it is. A college graduate will make $1 million, at least average of $1 million over their lifetime, more than a high school graduate. And that's on average. So clearly it can be more. I absolutely think it's worth it. And it's, but education doesn't stop at the end of college. That's just the cost of entry. That's just to many jobs. And staying engaged, going into a field that you have an aptitude for, but you also somewhat enjoy. I'm not going to be Pollyanna-ish and say, you never work a day in your life if you love what you're doing. I'm working and I like what I'm doing, but parts of it are still work. It's not all enjoyable. But there should be some element of thinking about it, brainstorming, even if with yourself, when you're not working, ideas coming to you, how you can do things better, and pursuing that type of career. You don't want, with a college degree, you want to avoid a career where when the day is over, you don't think about it again at all until the next day at 9 a.m. or you're watching the clock and punching the clock. And then looking at what the leaders, the managers in your area, what traits they have, what skills they had that allowed them to advance in your chosen profession. And those are some of the ways, you look at the college degree, that's just table stakes, as they say. Just that gets you in the door, and then maximizing, because you got another, 40 years of working, and just maximizing that time. And for those who are entrepreneurs and want to go into your own business, the same thing. Let someone else pay you to give you the skills to be a successful entrepreneur.
Thank you. Another question we got from one of our faculty members is, a key challenge that we face is getting students to see the value of engaging on campus. You mentioned that you did some engagement with your camp while you were a student. You're so correct that the top 20 do it. How do you bring along the other 80% to see the value in starting? And how do you take action, start to take action?
This is another part of the education and exposure that lower students from low-income families or others who just haven't had the exposure may not be aware of. The classroom is probably half, let's say, only half the value of college, which you learn in the classroom. And it was just kind of, I have to tell you, I didn't have a plan, but somehow I ended up, the president of the fraternity, the chapter at AU. I was also a DJ, believe it or not. So I was part of a DJ group. We DJ'd the campus parties, not just at AU, but also Georgetown, right down Foxhall Road. And I was on the intramural. A member of the campus community and some other things. And those skills, those leadership skills that and getting people, when you're not paying people to get them to follow you, that's harder than when you're their boss. And just being diplomatic and dealing with folks, dealing with the administration when we tried to get things for the frat, all of those things are ended up being hugely important. And I threw it on my resume that I was the president of the frat. And I was surprised at how much interest that got when I was interviewing coming out of college. And that's kind of not why I did it. I was just sort of the compromise candidate because some of the people didn't like the guy who really wanted to be the president. So I was like, would you be president instead? You kind of get along with everyone. But being involved, and not just involved as a member of a particular group or campus association, but finding something that you may want to help be part of the leadership in is hugely important coming while in college.
Okay, thank you. Another question we have is, it was partly a comment. It says, thank you for making such a large impact in the lives of many. And the question is, what are some ways that you avoid burnout? For instance, stay focused on the goal and providing resources for the students that you serve. Also, it's a two-part. Also, have you been able to network and partner with existing organizations at SEO? For example, hosting events, mural connections, etc. Mutual corrections, excuse me, etc.
Okay, so I'll take the burnout first. It is very important to be well-rounded in terms of your interest and not solely focused on work. And that's the other reason that it's important to have for your profession and your vocation to be something that may even be an avocation, something that you get some enjoyment out, a significant amount of enjoyment out, because then it's less like work. And nevertheless, and this is from a physical standpoint. I'm working out 3 or 4 days a week. You've got to be in shape, to be successful and have the stamina physically. So that's important. And having hobbies. I mean, I love to travel. I gave up basketball a long time ago, so I'm a golfer now. Hang out with friends and family and make time for those other things outside of work. And it's not surprising to me anymore, but it's amazing how many things are transferable, how many skills are transferable and experiences that you have that are transferable, and showing interest in reading books and novels. And somehow they come back or relate to your job or your family. There's so much intersectionality when you have a full life where things overlap. So that's important. Now, what was the second part of the question?
The second part of the question was, for instance, staying focused. It says, what are some of the ways that you avoid burnout? It says, for instance, staying focused on the goal, providing resources for the students that you serve. Also, have you been able to network and partner with existing organizations at SEO?
Yes, so our formal partnerships are with, there's 2 parts of SEO, as I kind of mentioned. To the pure philanthropy part, which is that 8-year program from high school, 9th grade through college graduation with 90% graduating. Then we have a national program, completely different group of students, college students and young professionals, where we help corporations with their with their talent needs, and mostly entry level, and it focuses on Black and Hispanic entry level and early career talent. And so we partner with over 250 banks, investment banks, Fortune 100 companies, private equity firms, alternative investment firms, law firms. So those are some of the SEO partners. And then we also have a new initiative called the Leadership Institute. And this is where we help our alums and young professionals in general, especially those who are underrepresented in the corporate sector, but in the workforce in general. How can they do two things? One, professional development, so helping them advance in their career. And we have a speaker series called Leadership Voices. So if you follow SEO on LinkedIn, Sponsors for Educational Opportunity, you'll hear about the Leadership Voices, some of the folks we have speaking in Leadership Voices. But the second piece, just as important, is civic engagement. How do you use your success, leverage their success to bring about change civically? Look, we know that, we're under assault in the United States right now of voting rights, it's gerrymandering. People are trying to turn back the clock. And we've got to fight the battle on all fronts. So this civic engagement and using your success to be civically engaged and leveraging that success in an efficient way is very important. So in this extends to SEO alums, but beyond SEO alums, anyone who wants to ensure that the American dream is available to everyone.
That's very important. Thank you. We have another question that says, in light of the growing focus on the DEI conversation in the boardroom and C-suites, are you optimistic that many more colleges or companies will implement strategies to recruit and retain diverse talent? And are you seeing any promising trends that excite you?
I am, and we have to see if it's a fad, post George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, or is it a longer term, commitment? I think what's been different, what's a little bit different this time, is that there seems to be more of a groundswell of support from employees of companies, where they're asking their management and their leadership, what are we doing? This is from employees of all types, of all ethnic backgrounds. What are we doing to address systemic racism? What are we doing as a company to create an equitable to make sure there are equitable opportunities? And we're bringing in people from all sorts of backgrounds, and we have a commitment to diversity. And then so management is as much acting and leadership in response to their own employees as the external factors. So it remains to be seen. I will say from SEO's standpoint, particularly with our professional programs, we've probably doubled our partnerships. Now, again, we're very metrics driven. I'm all about, the measurements, and so is the team. So this last year, 80% of SEO interns, and we had about 800 summer interns, 86% received full-time offers to come back after their senior year, those who are eligible with full-time jobs. Of our alternative investments program, 90% end up with full-time offers. These are young professionals with a private equity firm or other alternatives firm. So post George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, et cetera, and there was a flight to quality where companies were looking for proven solutions to address the historic exclusion of people of color, Black and Hispanic in particular, from some of these coveted industries. So SEO's more than doubled in the last, because of our track record, those programs are more than doubled in the last couple of years. And we think ultimately it becomes, our results will speak for themselves, because there is a war for talent. So if you can produce for companies who are interested in people who can help them be successful and make money. And we know that a diverse workforce is more effective, comes up with better solutions than a homogeneous workforce. And this is diversity in every sense of the word: diversity of background, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, etc. They're going to come up with better solutions because they have more experiences to pull from. They know who would feel overlooked or slighted or insulted by a particular campaign because they have that experience and there are less blind spots. So I'm encouraged, but ultimately the proof is in the pudding.
Thank you. And on that note, I just want to jump in here because I have a DEI question. As it relates to our students, or just in general, a lot of them are going to find themselves in managerial roles someday. That's going to require a proficiency, skill set, and cultural competency. As they take on these leadership roles and face these challenges, what advice would you give them on making decisions that are sensitive to diversity and inclusion?
Mm-hmm. I think it's important that in the room, to kind of paraphrase Hamilton, in a room where it happens or decisions are made, to have as many disparate and different voices as possible, to ensure that there's input from various perspectives, to make sure that no one is disadvantaged, slighted, insulted by those decisions. And that, that's important, to get as much input as possible. And one of the things I try to do is I always have, I'm going to have a viewpoint, but I don't state my viewpoint early in the decision-making process because I don't want to influence others of our, leadership team, their viewpoint with my viewpoint. I don't want people to just fall in line. So I want to listen first. And many times things that they say will change my ultimate viewpoint. So that's important. To resist, and then to go along with that, resisting the temptation to surround yourself with people like yourself. They just say, oh, they remind me of me, they must be great, so resist that temptation. I think reading biographies or, reading articles, listening to podcasts of people who are successful leaders in your area is another important way to grow. It's always better to learn from other people's mistakes, learn from other people's successes than your own, and constantly having a curiosity. How can this be done better? One of our core values at SEO is continuous improvement. And, it's an ongoing process. We've got to be nimble. We've got to be able to pivot, continually improve. There's internal factors, external factors, and just getting comfortable that change is the only constant, and accepting that, and being ready to change as necessary, and spotting the trends.
That is excellent. And that we here at Kogod will try to always be mindful to instill into our students and be the examples first and foremost. I want to kind of switch a little bit to talk about active alumni. And that's only because you are such a great example of that. How you've not forgotten about Kogod, or the business school as it was when you graduated, how important it is to remain active citizens. And that is a challenge for many institutions. And so is there something that we here at in administration, faculty, staff, is there something we can do to make sure that we have that engagement for not only from a philanthropic standpoint, but most importantly, the give back to the students, the mentoring, the role models that they can see that successful person once sat in the seat that they're sitting in, and it is attainable. What can we do to help within that area?
I think more of what you're doing. I think Kogod's a great example of reaching out to alums. And now you have more means than ever through social media, snail mail, email, et cetera, to stay connected to alums. I think the experience while on campus is great also. To the Career Center opportunity, if students can link back their early success to Kogod or to American University in general, that's something you never forget. And one thing I meant to mention earlier is I know it now because I'm in the space, but going into college, I did not realize how important the first and second year grades are to what opportunities are available to you. And they're actually more important than the third and junior and senior year grades. I just mentioned kids in our program are getting offers at the end of the summer between their junior and senior year. When we're accepted into SEO or accepted with our corporate partners, and when they're interviewing, all they have are their freshman and sophomore grades to go by, maybe one semester in their junior year. This is hugely important. And the average GPA for SEO is 3.0. I mean, the minimum to apply for our career program is 3.0. The average ends up being, I think last year was 3.64. So helping students understand, back in my day, I didn't have anything close to that. I didn't find my first job until I was out of college, but that's changing now. More people are focusing on not just college, but how well you did in college as the first screen. And I don't think enough students know that. You don't have time anymore to adjust, to college that first semester, first year, kind of getting, used to things. You've got to come out the gate with doing well in your classes. And that may mean, and we advise our students of this, maybe not taking the most rigorous courses with tons of quantitative, reading lists that are pages and pages long your first term. It may be delaying courses to managing your GPA. And, I'm among friends, I can talk like this, so that you have as many options as available as possible. And that can be beyond just internships, it's travel abroad, options while you're still in school. Grades are the first screen, and it starts the minute you set foot on campus.
Great, thank you for that. Elizabeth, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's okay, that's all really important. Thank you for sharing that. So we have a question from an active member of a parent association of a private K-12 independent school. And they're always looking for ways to engage parents, especially at the high school level, where many of the students test to get in. Do you have any thoughts about how a parent association should be there, like in what position they can help with this scenario? They have a very robust and diverse group of people, and they strive to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is, there's a little bit of a conundrum with this, because sometimes the most engaged parents are those with the most time. They may not be representative of the parents, of the majority of parents. So it could be the vocal minority of parents who have the most time and ability to be engaged, who would then end up, their priorities end up becoming the priorities of the school, or at least the Parents Association's efforts. So looking at creative ways, short surveys to get the attention of other of the parents who may not have the time to be as engaged, to make sure that they're represented also. So that is the one thing that we found over the years, that just because someone's more vocal, has more time to devote to it, doesn't mean that's the majority of the parents.
Thank you. We have another question from one of our professors here, and says, your organization seems to be focused on students who may not be from privileged backgrounds and may not be from an elite high school. But what happens to students of color who are at an elite high school? What happens to be the PWIs? What advice do you have for them, and does SEO help them as well? Also,
absolutely. So so I mentioned there are two parts of SEO. One is the Scholars Program, pure philanthropy that focuses on low-income students from low-income communities from all ethnic backgrounds, actually. And then there is our professional programs, career program, alternative investments, law, leadership institute, that helps those who are underrepresented in coveted industries, careers, get access to those careers regardless of economic status. And those are national programs in nature, and we focus on college students, and most of them are at predominantly white institutions. Obviously, we serve students from HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions also. Absolutely, those are the programs beginning when students are in college, helping them get internships that will diversify corporate America, particularly those positions that are most positioned to become eventual leaders of organizations and leaders in the corporate space. So many of our alums, and we have about half of our board is alums, very accomplished folks. Many of them have started their own firms and businesses. So that's the part of SEO. No socioeconomic screen that helps students from all, Black and Hispanic students from all economic backgrounds.
Thank you. And this is our last question. It was part of this two-part. It says also, do you have any advice for the white allies?
Absolutely. I think it's important, and we're seeing it now, to avoid the white savior approach, and really get input from those who you're looking to partner with and benefit from their involvement, and seek solutions from them, input from them, perspectives from those underrepresented, undereducated, in some cases, marginalized communities, in the best ways that you can be of assistance. And this is, what's really driven so much of the commitments that we see today from corporate America. It's from white allies, and realizing there's this huge impact, especially on people, from Black people, of 400 years of oppression and historical and systemic racism. The wealth disparities, the exclusion from opportunities, wealth creation over the years, and internalizing it and looking at ways that they can be involved and turning to their own employers in many cases, and asking, what are we doing? What more can I be doing? So there absolutely, there is a role for white allies, and it's helped draw more attention that we see today to the issues of preventing the US from having a more equitable society.
I think that was our last question. And unless you have some other thoughts you'd like to share with us, Mr. Goodloe, as we get ready to close this incredible session out?
I'll just say one thing that I tell when I speak to SEO participants sometimes, is to lean, everyone on this call, lean into your discomfort. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. And it's so easy to just get into a rhythm or a rut almost, but always look for things to challenge yourself, challenge your ways of thinking, and to be a little bit uncomfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, you're not growing. And that's a lifelong growth, is a lifelong journey.
Those are incredible words of wisdom. Thank you for that. And we just want to thank everyone for taking out the time to participate with us today as part of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Black History Month commemoration. Thank you to the DEI committee. A lot of you are on. Thanks for all your efforts. I want to just say a special thanks to Jim Waite, who made the introduction and has made my life richer by meeting you, Mr. Goodloe. So thank you, Jim, for that.
Thanks, Jim.
And then Mr. Goodloe, I just want to say, as part of Kogod's Black History Month celebration, the dean, the leadership team, Faculty, staff, and the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee would just like to offer a token of our appreciation that we'll make sure we get this plaque sent to you, just to thank you for sharing your experience, your knowledge, your insight, and challenging us to even lean into our discomfort. Thank you so much for this time. We're very appreciative, and we'll never forget you for doing this.
All right,
Thank you
well,
again.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
Bye.